All right, this is going to be an important lesson on how we're going to create a game and let the user know how many points they have or their score. So if you look at our timeline here, you'll see that basically I've got an action layer, as you might expect. I've got a button layer that I'm going to turn invisible, which has the button on it. I have the points itself, which you can see the dotted line. That's where the points are ultimately going to go. And then I also have a label so that people know what the heck that number is going to be. Now, one thing I want to show you that I have so far is in my action window, I've created a variable. I've called it points. I've told it it's an integer, and I've also set it to 0. And what I'm having here is when you click on award points, that's the instance name of the button, it is going to add 1 point. That is how you add 1 point. You have the variable plus plus. We'll worry about that later, but basically that will just add 1 point to whatever the current point are. I have this new function here. Really, it's not a function. Some code that says show me in the output window what the computer thinks the number of points are. That'll be clear in a minute. Trace just gives the user, the programmer, some feedback as to exactly what that value is. So I'm going to play this. And what's going to happen now is as I click on this button, you're going to see that it is points is equal to 1, 2, 3. But notice there's nothing showing up on the screen, and that's what we're going to handle now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close these windows, and I'm going to come back to our action window, and I am going to insert, and I already have it here, an enter frame. And that basically is the one we want because we want to know what the score is all the time. At the beginning of the game, it'll equal 0. And now here comes what is new. I am going to go in here and type what the instance name for the text is going to be. And I created called show points. In order to set the text inside of that instance, we're going to just say text. So we're saying that's the text that's going to be in the instance name variable points. And what I'm going to do is let that equal points. We saw a minute ago that the button made it go 1, 2, 3. So let's try that. So put the points into that text box that's called share points. So let's now play that, and we are seeing an error. And the reason we see an error is because points is an integer, it's a number, and you can't just put a number into a text area unless you turn it into a word. And the way you do that is you use the word string. Notice it's blue, notice it's got a capital S. So what happens here is it says, hey, points, let's say equals 1. Well, 1 is an integer. It needs to be created into a word, and then you use the word string. So now when I play this, what's going to happen is it's going to then show you that the number not only over in the output window are integers, it's converted that integer into a string, and it can now show it right there. One of the most important things is how do you create this instance name for the points? With it selected, you'll see there's the instance name, and it is a TLF text. You've got choices here, and read only. So if you have a text box where you set these properties, it will then be able to show you the text.